Hello, everybody. Well, it is a special Sunday morning edition of What's Up Wrestling. Of course, I'm here with TV Insider wrestling expert, great journalist Scott Fishman. Um, didn't you have DMD this week, or was that last week?
That was last week, but thanks for having me for brunch today. I
I'm
wish
glad
we didn't have mimosas, nothing here.
I have a cup of coffee. Here it is. You can't see. But we are here, obviously, because of last night's WWE Bad Blood from State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. The first time in years that they've had a Bad Blood, and we're gonna talk through and give our opinions and what went down and what we think will come out of this, because we have Monday Night Raw coming up tomorrow. But Scott, I wanted to first. I think the way to do this, instead of us giving our overall grade at the beginning, is we'll go through the matches and get your opinions and thoughts on it, and I'll offer them too. The first thing I wanted to discuss was, obviously, they kicked it off with Hell in the Cell, which I thought was a great idea to do that and place that in that position. What was your thought on Hell in a Cell? Because this is my favorite part.
Yeah, I thought the storytelling perspective, because you're so trained whenever you see the sack to see if it's going to be thumbtacks. You're always going to see that. Okay, here we go. It's the same thing. Thumbtacks. Maybe the Legos, which I love that spot too. But the fact that they were the beads, the friendship bracelet beads, just that's so symbolic and great.
I just
Call back.
have to say, but I wanted to tell you that as somebody who wrote WWE, watching this, I thought the storytelling of this particular match was beyond excellent. I thought the storytelling within a Hell in the Cell was exceptional. Go ahead. That's all.
Yeah, I just like you mentioned, even from the beginning where they're just staring at each other and just all this build up, all the talk, all the physicality, all things personal led up to this back and forth. And yeah, there's so many great moments in this Hell in a Cell match, like when Drew was talking about his wife again, and then when Drew was on his knees and pleading his case just to get the low blow in, and then just the physicality of it with the wrench.
Oh, you froze up. Scott is frozen, ladies and gentlemen. The hurricane has not hit Florida yet. Hopefully he can jump back on in a minute. I was going to say, while we wait for Scott, I was going to say that it was such a great match, such a great Hell in the Cell. First of all, when Drew, first of all, he got hit with that toolbox, and if you read in the aftermath, the blood that he had he had 16 staples put in his head because he was really bleeding out. So that was incredible. And then him playing this up the whole time and hurting his back, and the narrative storytelling, and then CM Punk. There's Scott. I was just talking to myself, Scott, and telling everybody what I thought of Drew's head getting busted open in the 16 staples. But
yeah.
So even that 16 staple thing with getting hit with the toolbox, and that was pretty severe, apparently. All of that was just, it was so dramatic, and just the blood, and then looking at him, and then the time when Drew was like, I'm going to make you bleed. He was so happy that he had Punk bleeding. There were just so many. It was just such a great feud, executed so well in the story and the pacing of the match. I know that the Undertaker Shawn Michaels was the last one, right? Was the last time we had this?
The last what?
Hell in a Cell?
I mean, we've had so many Hell in a Cells since then, but that was definitely the benchmark, the first one. So from the first Bad Blood, back when it was bad with 2 Ds.
Right.
But from a overall perspective, I mean, WWE doesn't, in the PG era, they can toe the line a little bit on Peacock, but it's still a PG show. So I was actually a little surprised that it did get to that level. And I thought the added, I mean, as real as it was, of having them come out with the oxygen tank at the end and everything just to show, and then Punk being, as proud as he is, very similar to Mick Foley when Mick, was going back and refused the assistance, and then Punk had like so much pride that he didn't want to have anyone escorting him to the back, but with any assistance. So I thought all of that, I think top to bottom, from start to finish. I read that Abyss was the one who helped produce that match. So one of the unsung heroes in WWE when it comes to putting matches together. And he had such a great career in TNA, but he's found this great second career and showing what a great talent he is when it comes to visualizing things like this. So
I agree. I always was when I was there. I always remember I was so blown away by the agents that put together the match, like watching him construct the match and run through the match with the wrestlers and how it's constructed. And I just felt the behind the scenes creatives for this match in particular were great. Back to your point about Punk. So after he wins and he's got the oxygen. Now, do you feel that was all real?
I mean, it looked real to me. So it could have been a little both. So when the fact that we are questioning it just shows you what a good job they did in this match.
Correct. And on your point, I was too. I was very surprised how bloody this was because I wasn't sure. And I think this is part of the new WWE that we're going to see moving in to Netflix or whatever this new era is. More of this new era is going to be. Are they going to be more bloody? Because AEW is so bloody, and then they're not as PG now. Like, were they going to go full tilt with blood? And I was a bit surprised how much it was based on the product. But do you think this marks a turn for WWE moving forward?
I don't know. I like the idea that you're saving this kind of.
Uh-oh. We're losing you again. You're freezing. This kind of brutality, you save this time of brutality?
Yeah, like this type of brutality, saving it for special occasions, like when a story just warrants it. It's not every week, every pay-per-view, like AEW, unfortunately. It's like it's an AEW show. We're going to see tables, blood, chairs, like ECW.
Blood is coming. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you come to expect it. Like this is like saving these moments, like for these perfect occasions. I think that's that's what direction they're going to take when a story warrants something like this, which is going to be a rare case. And that's how it's going to be, in my opinion.
So when you look at this match, I'm assuming we're giving it an A.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
It was like AA.
Almost like you talked about it being the first, having it being the first match, and that was a good idea. Given what happened with the end of the show, yeah, it was a good idea. But at the same time, what a challenge for everyone else having to follow that. Like the crowd would just put everything into that match, and the matches. There weren't a lot of matches on the card, but you just feel for everyone having to kind of follow that because that was like the top, and then the fans came back towards the end, but definitely a challenge when you have a match like that at the first, the start.
I 100% agree. Everybody was so hot and into that match, and then the whole thing kind of went down. And then I think because The Rock was coming,
they had to do that last.
Because what is your, as we always say, what is your cliffhanger? What's your cliffhanger? Unless there would have been some way to go off the air with the other thing. But they've been doing that, right? In a lot of these PLEs, they've been putting a big match first and then a big match last, right?
Yeah, like bookending it.
Did Punk in your opinion, how did Punk look in the match? Did you feel like, oh, he looks tired and old, or did you think he looks like he held his own?
I think this was the ultimate test for him. I mean, he's only had a couple matches, like when it comes to the big matches and things like that. So it's pretty crazy when you think of all the time he's rehabbed and things like that. So he's just getting back into the rhythm of things. And I think this is like trial by fire here. This could have gone extremely bad for, with the amount of effort and time. You don't know. He could have got injured. I mean, you think about AJ Styles coming back from his injury and then getting injured again. It looks like we'll see what happens, but all this can factor into that. And he held his own. I'm not sure how he's feeling right now this morning. Hopefully he's doing all right and he can keep going. But
isn't that funny, Scott? I literally sat here last night. I'm like, I'm like, oh my God, I hope he's like, I'm worried about Punk.
So he just wanted to call his wife. He just wanted to call his wife.
Like, can I
call hope cameras were there when I hope cameras were there when
I know.
He did that. I would love to hear that conversation.
Backstage video of him. Hey, I'm okay.
Yeah.
But I was with you, like, as an older person, I was like, is he really okay? Is he gonna go? And then I'm like, are we gonna find out he got injured and we don't know it? Like
We don't. I
all these
mean, it could
things
happen.
in my
It could
head.
happen.
It's been
Yeah.
in my head. And let's talk about where Drew goes from here.
Mm.
Where do you see in your expertise that Drew would go? They can't be doing this again. This got to be the end of
Yeah. This
Drew.
got to, at least for right now, it's got to be the blow off of this. Yeah, I think maybe Drew takes some time off. Like, we don't see him for a little while and then comes back when we least expect it. I think right now the story has kind of gone the direction that it went into. And then we'll see what happens. But that's what I think. I mean, after all this, all the build up and everything like that, he's got to just go back and kind of see and kind of recoup. And I think some time off away from the show would do good for him. So we'll see what happens. That's what I would do anyway.
Do you think? And also, one other question before we move on: when they scripted this and decided that CM Punk and Drew, did you think Drew? How do you think Drew felt about it? Cool, because it was CM Punk.
Yeah, I mean, deep down, competitiveness. Maybe he's like, damn, like you're right again.
There we go.
But at the same time, when you have a classic story of a good guy versus a bad guy, in the end, the good guy,
Gotta
does
win.
come out on top. You got to have that win. And, in this scenario, that's kind of how it needed to happen. So, he knows business. He knows, enough. He's a veteran. So, I think just the fact that they pulled this great match off, I think from a performer standpoint, I think he probably feels good about himself, if anything.
Yeah, he was amazing too. All right, so we finish. Punk wants to call his wife. He gets oxygen. We leave Drew in the ring. We go to commercial. And then we come back with Bayley and Nia Jax. And this was a bit of a. I want to know what you thought, but of course, here was the ultimate moment in it. Oops, there goes the referee.
And then, poor Jessica.
Poor Jessica. And then wait. Oops.
Oh.
Jessica. So poor Jessica got annihilated by Nia Jax. What was your thought on this match?
I just thought, just incredible though. There was a point where Nia, you never even thought she was going to be coming back, and a lot of people, give a lot of hate to Nia, but just for her to come back the way she has and having this run that she's had, I think she's done a really good job as a performer and telling stories and, mannerisms and, things like that and being built up the way that she has. And I thought these two had a really, really good match. It was crazy that at one point where it was like a Hurricane Rana that was being pulled off.
Weird. It was that Hurricane Rana.
Yeah, it wasn't the most perfect, but when you're having Nia Jax, doing it, I give all the credit in the world for her and Bayley. Bayley like worked her ass off too.
I'm sure I believe Bayley was like, here's what we're gonna do.
Yeah,
Bayley's like
the ring general. Yeah, I definitely think.
I feel like she was like, let's do this and let it.
She's someone that I think will be a good producer after her career is over. I think she's a lifer and she'll always be with wrestling, whether it's telling the story with all that. So, yeah, I just think that's kind of what that went. And then, everyone was chanting for Tiffy time the whole time. So, and then her coming up like the Undertaker, as you see right there. That was just the cash-in tease. So good. Chef's kiss with that. And the crowd was so invested.
Great. But there was a little clunkiness to it. So I just want to go back. I thought Nia moved the best I've ever seen her in the ring. And she did have some new moves, to your point.
Which is for sure. Submission moves. She had, some really, that shows again, growth and really taking this seriously and putting in the work and not just resting on your laurels.
I was surprised that the match was as good as it was because it kind of was, it did follow Punk and McIntyre, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, and they managed to keep the crowd invested for the most part, especially towards the end when Tiffany Stratton was involved.
What my question is, this is where I thought it was bot. It looked weird. So Tiffany comes out. What was her plan to cash in and on? Like, what was going on there? Because it looked kind of fumbled to me, not to you. Because it looked like she came out, she was going to do something with Bayley with the thing. Then Nia sees her with the thing, with the briefcase, and then nothing happens, right? Because she's gonna double cross her friend?
I just think for the matter of she went out there, she saw this is my just line of thinking, just kind of
What's your
continuing the story. Continuing the story, I guess, that they're trying to play out is she went out there, she saw that the referee was out, and maybe she was torn. She just saw the smoke. She was just staring, and just the fact
that we lost you. I'm not sure what's going on with the connection. Hope he'll be back in a second. I was confused. It looks like she was going to cash in, and then obviously she knew that if she did cash in, her friend would be pissed, but obviously that's got to be coming up. Tiffany and Nia Jax. I mean, this has got to be leading into something coming up. Scott, you are frozen. This was my favorite moment, which I thought was great.
I'm back. I'm ready to cash in my briefcase. Sorry, I don't know what's going on today, so bear with me. It seems like it's not.
Do you think you need? Do you want to log off and log back in?
I don't know. Yeah, I just I signed out. I signed in, so it's. Okay. I don't know. It might be the weather outside. I don't know what's going on with it. So
okay, we were talking about the briefcase.
Yeah, the briefcase. Yeah.
Question for you is,
yeah,
so we're setting up. There's gonna. I mean, it's very clear they don't. Nia doesn't trust her at this point, right? Isn't she looking at her like,
especially after what happened with this? I think we're getting closer and closer to the turn, and when it does happen, like fans really want to get behind Tiffany Stratton. Even back in February when Elimination Chamber came out, it seems she just has, which is interesting because she plays this character that's everyone like, you should not like, really, you think about it, but there's just something about her that fans want to cheer her, and she's so good in the ring that I think it all fits the package.
I think we as wrestling aficionados or fans or whatever pundits, how can you deny her athleticism? Like, she is amazing. I think they need to get to it though. I think we've had enough teases now, and if you're gonna do it, I hope we're not going to stretch this all the way
to WrestleMania.
Like they did with Damian Priest. I was losing my gourd.
I don't know if it can go that far.
I mean, that was so annoying. I'm like,
because if Charlotte's coming back, maybe you want to get the Charlotte Tiffany Stratton at some point.
Well, that's it. I mean, they're very similar in ways to do that. I don't know. So where does Nia go from here? Is this Tiffany and her now? Or I mean, where does she go? Bayley's got to be done, right? Are they going to keep this going?
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about it. She promised Naomi that she'd win the match and then have her be the first in line. So it kind of interesting of how that's going to play out with Naomi and Bayley. Yeah, that's kind of the thought process. It's interesting to see. It's probably something we're not even thinking of what kind of plan they have for Bayley when it comes to now, because she's already lost that. So
there was a very important question asked at the press conference at Triple H yesterday that made headlines about the reporter asking about why you're underutilizing Black performers and they're not in premium live events. Why is that? Because we saw earlier, Bianca, Jade, and Naomi as hosts of the thing. They didn't have matches. His answer was, I just see talent as talent. There's no color involved. What do you think about that comment? Because is there validity in that? There seems to be.
I think what comes down to is these shows now have only a couple of matches. So
5 matches.
Yeah. So I think he's just going where he didn't put it eloquently. He did not put it well, and I think it rubbed people the wrong way. So I'll give you that. But I think what his thought process is go where the stories at the moment and the characters are at the moment. I don't think he's making a conscious decision to put certain race involved. So you look back at other pay-per-views and, you see the diversity that's reflected in that. So you even look at the reflected in the NXT shows as well, because you're discounting the NXT then, because if you're talking about WWE.
Trick. Yeah.
What was that?
Trick Williams.
Yeah, Trick Williams, Kaylani Jordan.
Yeah.
Just so much, just to name two right now.
And I think it was more, I do think you're right. I do think the way he said it was a fumble. I think what he meant was what you're saying. And I think it's also the interesting because you've got Bobby Lashley, MVP, Shelton, everybody went over to AEW. So you lost this contingent, but they had no story really in WWE. How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think they dropped the ball with the Hurt Business. I just, there was so much potential. You saw it kind of, they did a lot with it. Don't get me wrong. They did, but I think it did not run its course, and they kind of broke it up right at a point where it could have been something more.
Well, Tia agrees. I will say there hasn't been an issue when it comes to diversity, but I think the main issue is the failure they did with the Hurt Business. And she went on to say, I think fans can't get over the fumble of the Hurt Business. They should have never failed with them, especially Bobby Lashley, who is getting over with the fans. I'm just hoping, you guys, that this AEW thing isn't another thing. Like, there's so many people in AEW. Are they going to do them a solid there, or did they get lost in the milieu of so many cliques and factions that they have? You know what I'm saying, Scott?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, with the WWE, it's a little different because they have these, they have made a conscious effort to only put a certain amount of matches on the shows. So, but I also read that they have seen that what's going on online, and they are making a more conscious effort to do that. But for me, I have the cheap Peacock, so I didn't see if I have cheap Peacock, I didn't see Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, and Naomi any at all again until the opening segment. So you guys are aware, like I have. So
wait a minute. Do I have cheap Peacock? Because
I had put out this morning that I was like, oh wait, I just remembered that they were supposed to be hosts because they just kicked off the show, but then they cut to like them, talking to people and doing different segments, like 3 or so segments throughout the show. And I didn't see that part. So that could have me having
see them up in the box.
Yes. Did you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe either I have cheap Peacock or I did watch it after the fact and it may have fast forwarded too much.
That's a really interesting idea.
So,
but that's an important point, because if you have cheap Peacock, you're not getting
Peacock. If you have cheap Peacock, then maybe you're not seeing everything, but or getting the full picture, I say. But the way they're featuring Bianca and Jade and other things, I just think, how can you like look at that and have that argument? Because there are these empowering figures, and hello, the Bloodline, it's all Samoans. I mean, look how many Samoans are on this show right now.
There's 97 Samoans.
Yeah, they're coming out of the woodwork. The Street Profits doing their thing. I mean, especially on SmackDown, Carmelo Hayes. And then on the other show, Xavier Woods, Kofi. I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to say that. I mean, again, Triple H, I don't think put it really well on his press conference response, but yeah, I don't think, in my opinion, there is too much of an issue there that warrants like.
I agree with you. I mean,
huge outrage.
I agree with you. Thank God we're not watching 10 matches on a PLE. Thank God it's down to 5. 5 or 6. I think that's great. I think that's attention span, enough time to craft great matches without a lot of filler and have some not be as great as others. And you're right. I think he goes with what the story is. And I mean, don't they have Latin factions? I mean, what about LWO?
LWO. Mm-hmm. Although I'm agree with the uproar when it comes to Zelina Vega and her not getting as featured as she should. But yeah, and then Damian Priest on the show too. I mean, Puerto Rican. So,
I mean, do you think the comment was just made about black performers?
I think that's what they're aiming at. But when you're talking about nationalities, you need to talk a race. You got to talk about
yeah. So then, guys, Triple H came out. He's like, "Hey, I've got a paper bag over this thing, and I've got something to tell you." And we're like, "Oh, what is this going to be?" And he says, we're going to crown Jewel and we're going to be champion versus champion. I'm like, oh, wow. And then it's like, but the titles are not up for grabs. And I'm like, but this beautiful belt is up for grabs. And then Gunther makes his appearance in the ring, who I actually thought did a great spot. What did you think about this crown jewel matchups that they're going to do? And it doesn't mean anything but getting the belt.
I don't know. I don't like it. I think it's kind of dumb. And I don't know. It just feels so forced because we know this.
So
I don't think fans are really into that. I like the idea of having, the champions face off, but having them win we have too many championships. The Rock's having a champion. It just cheapens the titles that they already have. Like, we don't need to have more titles. Give them a trophy or something. Like, I don't know, give them a gift card to Bath and Body Works. I think that
a gift card to Vitamin Shop.
Something else, a trip to Disney World. I don't know. I think having a title there, it's just appeasing the people that are organizing it in Saudi Arabia with Crown Jewel. It just comes off
just money.
There's that.
Money with Saudi
Arabia. It's just
Arabia.
A weird feeling. Like, you're just making it worse.
Yeah, I just thought the belt, you can have champion versus champion. It doesn't mean anything, but you get this belt. I love the idea of champion versus champion. And
just keep it that way.
Someday, I would like to see a WrestleMania where it's champ versus champ for all the marbles, and there's one champ, like something.
Well, I liked when they did that for Survivor Series. I thought that was a great environment for that, because you're having the brands, face off against each other. That was one time a year. So
we have a question from Tia. Michael and Scott, do you think the plan is to have Jade versus Bianca at Mania with one of them turning on each other? Yes, I say yes. Scott.
Yeah, I think so. It's just a matter of when. I mean, I don't know if they thought that this run would go as long as they had, but it's definitely helped Jade as she makes her transition in WWE, because Bianca has been there every step of the way. She's been a part of the WWE system for so long. She kind of helped ease her into this. So I think there will come a point where that will take place. Maybe it'll be at the Royal Rumble. Maybe one is going to eliminate the other, and that's kind of like going to set the gears in motion.
So, I interviewed, I think you did too. You've interviewed Jade a few times, and I interviewed Jade. I asked her at, was it WrestleMania? Yeah. I asked her, I'm like, so she basically said there's a turn coming. We're just not there yet. And of course, and you can watch that interview. The interview is here on my YouTube channel, but you can listen to how she worded it. And it was kind of like, we're not at that point yet, alluding to that. So who is going to be the heel? I think everyone's expecting it to be Jade. Will they ever turn Bianca heel, which is what so many people would want to see? And I don't want to see Bianca as the heel.
Jade is more of the natural heel for me. I think fans just love Bianca so much that I think it'll be hard to do it that way, the forced way.
Also, in between the matches on Peacock, when you're watching all the product placement, I think Bianca was in like 2 or 3 different commercials for them.
Yeah, she is she's part of that franchise player.
So I don't think, Tia says she thinks it's Bianca.
I mean, she has been a heel before, so it's not like it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Okay, well, we will see. Okay, so now we've got Gunther in the ring, and then he does the whole number about Bret Hart. I lied about Bret Hart, and Bill Goldberg.
I love that line. That was great.
It was so great. And Bill Goldberg, you suck too. And it was great that Bill was there with his family, with his son. And there were so many like wrestling luminaries, because they're in Atlanta. They live in Atlanta. So many people that were there, like Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard was there, and
Mickey James was there.
Miss Jacqueline, who, by the way, fun little side note. So when I was at WWE, I had to write like promos with Miss Jacqueline. That's how long ago this was. So she, it was like Trish, Miss Jackie. It was great to see her. She looks okay.
We need to get Jackie on the show. I think she's been on my list of ones that I have not spoken to before.
Jackie. I love Jackie.
Yeah, she's just so fun.
But
I would love to get her. Oh, I mean, it is Georgia, Atlanta. So much history there. He won his WCW championship there in the Georgia Dome.
In the Georgia Dome.
And then, of course, the Georgia Bulldogs. So it made total sense for him to be there. But every time I see his son Gage, it makes me feel so old, because I remember him on his shoulders and how young he was. But he's playing football, but who knows? Maybe he'll have he'll make a run at the
I
wrestling.
think
But
Gage is going to make a round of wrestling, but I'm saying, so are we? So then in the press conference, they asked, "Are we getting to Triple H? Are we going to
never
get?"
say never. Yeah. There's got to be more to this. I mean, as much as the internet hates Bill Goldberg, you can't deny the fans outside of the the Twitterverse or wrestling Twitter or X or whatever. I think people like Bill Goldberg and they want to see him, and he gets huge reactions, and like him or not, that he delivers when it comes to that sort of thing. So there is, I think there's something there when you talk about Gunther and Goldberg. But if you're going to have the championship versus champion match at Crown Jewel, when is this match going to happen?
Right. I can't see when it would happen because you've got the Crown Jewel, then Survivor Series. I can't see Goldberg.
Actually, this would be great for Saturday night's main event. I mean, you want to give you want to bring a familiar face. So they could have just planted the seeds right now, and then here we are coming in for that big event and see what happens.
That's it. You hit it. I bet that's it.
Although that area, that market has not been kind to Bill a lot sometimes. So so we'll see what kind of reaction he would get.
Because we know Bill Goldberg has like 2 moves. And didn't Gunther say something to him about that? Like,
oh yeah.
Like your lousy 1 move. It was just like I was dying. And you knew where this was going. I do think Gunther is great in his presentation of being a jerk. So then Sami Zayn comes up, he interferes, setting up this match for Monday. I do not see Zayn beating Gunther on Monday.
Yeah. I think something's going to happen with maybe someone new will be put with Sami to kind of have him branch off, because I don't see it happening right now anyways, because they want Gunther to be this dominant champion. You can only be champion one time, so you want to make it seem special. And what he did with the Intercontinental Championship and bring legitimacy to it. I'd love to get Sami a title run though at some point, because he does have that connection with the audience. But I'm thinking some shenanigans are going to happen when it comes
during the match.
Yeah.
So now we come to Lowriders. We come to Liv and Dom coming into their match. Did you like the car? Was there a whole thing about getting the car? What was there?
Oh my gosh, there's so much marketing going into WWE right now.
Marketing. I was going crazy. I'm like, everything was in. You can get your own car at the right.
Sponsored by, you could drive that to Wendy's and get some saucy nugs.
And WWE, there was so much like marketing, and I was like, so what did you think of this match between Liv, Rhea, and Dom suspended?
I don't know. I feel like crowd wasn't as into it as I had thought they would be. So that kind of leads me to believe that maybe this story is kind of running its course a little more, especially the way that the ending kind of turned out.
The ending, hold on, don't say. Yeah, I'm gonna get to the ending.
Yeah,
which is a whole other thing, because I read horrific comments about this online. But
that was great, and the pinata spot where she's hitting
pinata spot, and this was the best part. And I have to give it to Dominic. He's great. He's just great. The match, I just think it kind of was like dead in there.
And yeah, it was just, and I think that comes down to what they had seen already, the Hell in a Cell and then everything else. So, but like I said, I think is this a sign that, the story has kind of run its course a little people, but that's why they have, I guess, Raquel involved.
Right.
I guess we'll find out.
This was such a weird thing. I mean, it got no pop online. Nobody cared. They were saying that, Raquel Rodriguez has 2 faces. One smiles when she's a face and frowns when she's a heel. I mean, they went after her. That this is the stupidest. They did not like this. I mean, I read nothing positive about.
Well, on the finish too, when you have that kind of weird finish where she gets in, she interferes, and then the match ends in disqualification anyways. So, but there is a rivalry, there is a history with Rhea and and
with
Raquel, so they can build off that. But is Liv gonna have a bodyguard now? Is that what Raquel's gonna be? So we'll see what happens. Kind of like a Mercedes Monet and Camille.
It is exactly what I thought. I'm like, they're doing the same thing as on AEW. But the weird thing about it is the ending was clunky. I'm like, why is she? Weren't you confused? Like, why are we? I didn't like it.
Yeah. Part of me is like, okay, let's see. Yeah, how it was delivered, but maybe we'll see how it is. For me, though, given all the health issues that Raquel has faced, it was nice to see her back, and she looked great, and that's what I'm kind of focusing on and seeing because what she kind of went through and how she kind of kept trying to perform with everything. Do
you want to elaborate so people understand what she went through?
Well, yeah, she had that was skin condition, so I don't have it like readily available what it was called, but her making it public and showing people and kind of going through her journey with it, I thought that was a brave move, and going on TV and being a public figure and
yes,
kind of continuing on and doing that, and then there would be days where she's in tears on social media because of how debilitating what she was going through. So, I think seeing her come out of the other side, I think it was a nice thing to see, but it's unfortunate that it happened the way it did and the reaction has been the way it has. But they're not necessarily going after her per se. They're going after how the story and how she was reintroduced, I think. So
yeah. I agree. I mean, I just thought that now with this being this weird ending, that must mean we're going to continue this feud, right? This isn't over between Rhea and Liv.
Yeah, there's another layer now because now in order to get back to Liv, she's got to get through Raquel. So that's what's going to happen.
Right. So Tia said the story got stale quickly. It went from a feud I initially liked to one I am about. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought it was interesting though because in a sense, the women have a female manager or someone alongside a male when they're fighting, and then the woman is in the middle so often. So this time, it had Dom in the middle, like a male. So that was kind of unique dynamic. I mean, we saw a little bit of that with James Ellsworth back in the day with Carmella, but I think that was a nice change of pace when it comes to that sort of thing. But I also get what she's saying. Like, is it becoming more of a distraction from the two women that are just having this feud? Why do we have to have a man involved?
There's not a man hanging. I mean, they're both so great. And how long is it before Rhea gets the belt back? Isn't she going to get the belt back eventually? I mean,
it goes back to the good and evil and having good prevail in the end. And I think that's what's going to happen. But there's still time in the chase. I mean, there's still money in the chase if they find a different way to tell this story, because it has been kind of getting a little bit running the course, and people are a little get tired of it a little bit, I think.
So now we come to the main event, and I want to first tell you
Damian and Finn.
Whoa. I'm sorry.
So it shows you how forgettable that you thought that match was.
No, I liked it actually. Hold on.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, it had slow parts at the beginning for me. But at the end, I think it was a good. But I don't know. I felt Finn should have won that one. I don't know. I feel like Judgment Day needed that when it comes to Finn and bringing some legitimacy back to him.
Look at that.
great photo there. He's like having an out of body experience.
Right, some great photos. I thought Finn was great in this match. Just move for move and everything that he was doing. I just cannot stand every match. It's like, here comes a Judgment Day. They're going to interfere. Like, what are we?
And if they do, at least have them be effective. Like, it's just making them look like bumbling idiots at every time that they're involved. They never get the job done.
I mean, JD McDonough proved that he can fly by going way up over the rope when he went over, but that even looked kind of like, and they're not effective. So I mean, I guess I'm glad that Damian won now, but then Damian in the press conference said he's not necessarily done with the Judgment Day when they asked him, will you pursue another title reign? And he's obviously said he's going to make some kind of decision by Monday night. Where do you see him going now? I see a Judgment Day feud continuing.
Yeah, because, Finn's not going to be done with him. He lost. So I'd like to see a little bit more Carlito in the mix, I have to say. He's been kind of subtly been such a great character as part of the Judgment Day. Something involving him would be great. Are they going to add another member?
Well, they're adding Raquel, right?
Yeah, but another like male member to go after Damian. I don't know, but I feel like Finn's going to become obsessed, and he's not going to be done with him, and that's going to continue on. Maybe Damian's going to try to move on, and then that's what's going to happen.
I didn't hate this match. Just I was looking at my order photos. So you gave it like it wasn't your favorite, right? It was kind of like
it was like a B. It was like there. Like a B minus kind of thing. I mean, it was just here nor there for me.
Yeah, it just felt like when we have bad blood, we have to pad bad blood with feuds.
Which it makes sense that it's on this show. Don't get me wrong. I just, like you said, how it played out, it's just the same old, same old.
I know. That's the only thing. Like, if they are so creative, why can you give us something else here for the end? Okay, now we come to the end. I jumped. But I want to first say what I thought of this. I thought this was horrible. And I'll tell you what bothered me. I watched the video of this. I believe they're from Arkansas, Alabama. This is the there was a viral video of them performing Cody Rhodes' theme. And I read that Cody Rhodes asked them to play at the event. And I thought the video was amazing. It was so great because they were in the stands of their college, like doing the song, the entrance theme for Cody and the cheerleaders. And it was great. This just sounded terrible to me I just thought it was like, what is going on? And then they meshed it with Cody's theme. I just thought this sounded, I'm so sorry, but I thought this was a real botch. I thought did you not think it just sounded?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. It was late at night and I actually missed that part. But I'm not seeing the dancers. I'm not seeing the dancers though. So I think that's what made the video also, the choreographed dancers.
But the band sounded in tune in the video. They did not sound in tune here. So you're watching Cody's song and it's going on and on. And like then they mush it. Like
it was a nice sentiment. Yeah.
The sentiment was great. The delivery was terrible. And then did you see Roman's entrance with then they had the orchestra for him playing in it was like, I don't even hear them. Like this works for me at a WrestleMania.
WrestleMania, yeah.
It worked so well. I loved it so much. Or when Seth Rollins played with the guys from Philadelphia, whatever that group was with the marching things. This was just like, so anyways, I had to get past that match.
You were so angry at the musical performance.
All right, so we get into the match, and we don't know what's going to happen with are Cody and Roman going to coexist? They're trying to decide who's going to go first. Cody goes first, and then as it plays out, what was your thought of how this was constructed? I thought there was a little too much. It was a little boring at first, I thought, but I thought it was like a little too much. Cody getting hit, Cody getting hurt, and then they really kind of kept Cody and Roman apart. You really never felt that they were, because then Roman would go down outside the ring when he was injured for a long, long time. They all had their spots, but they never really gelled like as a tag team.
Yeah, it was a slow burn for sure at the beginning, and the fans were remarkably quiet again. But I don't know. It comes down with Solo. I think he sucks the energy out of things, and he has the heat on Solo, but I think I don't know if it's full heat though. Like
I miss it.
Yeah,
but then Jacob is so great.
Yeah, Jacob is it's just having them together. It just shows even more that Solo, like Jacob is the guy to focus on, and Solo's still pretty new to the industry, so I'm not saying he's not going to put everything together, and he does a solid job. Just for my taste and my standpoint, there's just something about him that I'm like, eh.
Can I just elaborate on that? I'm so glad you said that. When I watch Solo, here's the thing. If he's the new tribal chief, give me somebody who makes me feel like the real, like I don't feel anything like
there's no believability that
not the threatening tribal chief that's going to take it away from my,
part of me thinks that is what they're kind of going for as well. Because when you think of all the bad guys and villains in history, it's like the guy is not the one that can really like defend himself. So he has to surround himself with a crew that can, and he puts up this front, but he doesn't come off as like the brains of the like he is like I don't know, just something about it in the role. It's just not doesn't feel right to me, like you said.
Tia said Solo was so loved before he became a leader of Bloodline. He was.
I don't know about that, but they definitely. Well, I think when he was like part of the Romans crew and things like that, when he pop up and things like that, but they put him in this position where he's like got rockets, you know. But people haven't really have known him for very long, so it's kind of like they're just kind of getting to know him, and yeah, he had some good big wins and things like that. But it's almost like it was almost like what they did with Roman at the beginning of his career, where they're kind of like force feeding him to be in this role, and it's just not coming off that well.
Then we had the surprise of, or is it a surprise, of Jimmy Uso coming back. I saw the video of him coming. There was a video of a fan catching him that he was under the ring. He came out of the ring. He was standing there. We've seen this kind of black masked person, hoodie guy. And I'm so confused, Scott. Please explain this to me. What? I don't get it. Jimmy has been all over the place. And what is he? Does he like Roman? Does he hate? Like, why now is he like, I'm here for you? I thought Roman did him dirty. Like, I'm so confused.
Well, he also did dirty by the other bloodline.
Right,
So
right.
I think that's kind of what's the more recent beef that they have. And you know, he thought it over, he saw the situation, but I just think only in pro wrestling where you're seeing your brother get beat up by your cousin and you're like, yeah, let's do this, and I'm gonna be the one to help out with this. So family feuds love it in pro wrestling. But
are we glad to see him?
Oh yeah, I mean, look at that crowd reaction he got.
That
like
was
when
great.
And his reaction when he was smiling, that smile was like priceless to me. And I loved it at the end when the bloodline was beating up we're beating up Cody Rhodes, and he's like, because Roman's just not like they don't back in the day, WWE would have forgotten everything that happened and be like, okay, Roman and Cody are together. But they know the nuance of the story and the history, and they're like, why am I going to go help this dude who took my championship from me? And then that's when Jimmy's like, hey, yeah, and I'm with you either way. So he was still showing how, you know, he was with him. If he wanted to make the decision of not going, he was also going to abide by that decision. But the fact that, you know, he fought every fiber in his being not to do it, but then he realized, you know, this whole thing with the bloodline, I need to help in and step in with Cody. And this is kind of slowly bringing us to Survivor Series War Games, so that fits nicely. And then
with the belt, that he handed the belt to Cody. Obviously, we're building to something, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I mean, also, I thought it was interesting. It was Roman. Cody went out first, and then was Roman. Does that say anything to you in the hierarchy of the company?
I'm not sure. These days I've seen both sides of the coin, so I don't know if I want to read too much into it, but it's hard to deny that, you know, everyone talks about the aura of a wrestler and the presence of a wrestler. It's used so often, but with Roman, he elevates. Like, you could see the reaction that he gets from the fans. And it was weird because it was almost like fans were booing. Fans are so fickle, though. It's so funny because
I felt like
it almost seems like in Atlanta, Roman was handing the championship to Cody, and there were some boos. I heard some negative reaction to it.
Also, I wasn't hearing Cody in his hometown of Atlanta. They weren't like, oh, yeah. Like, I remember him. I remember Cody like, oh shit. I think Cody was like, oh shit, they're not fired up. So he was extra fired up. You know, let's go. Like, they were like.
So when it comes to Roman and Cody, I think we're at a point where it's like, uh-oh. It's like, are we seeing a little changing of the guard when it comes to the fan reaction? Oh my God, look at that back. Wait, go back to that.
Isn't that great? Look at
Jimmy, though.
I know. I was like, I have to show Scott this. Look at me.
It's a tale of three people reactions.
Right. And this all happens because who shows up at the final boss?
With a championship.
The championship at Crown Jewel, which is the Rock's championship. But okay. We knew Rock was coming because I heard he was in Georgia. We had heard that. I knew this was going to happen. The show, it felt like they had to stretch that a little bit. Like, the end was like, he comes out, there's the pop. That pop was insane, as usual, for The Rock.
He can do no wrong, it seems.
He can do no wrong, no matter what he does. Then he does the 1, 2, 3, but his arm goes down. So I'm like, is he saying he's going to go for all of them? Is it going to be Rock, Roman, and Cody at WrestleMania? Or is he pissed at all of them? Or like, what is that? Because he hates Cody. Because the funniest thing was the video he posted on afterwards when he walks by the bus and he sees Dusty and he goes, "I love you. I hate your son."
And then Fruity Pebbles.
And Fruity Pebbles.
Don't forget, John Cena is involved and has to be involved in this. So we'll see.
I agree. And I thought the Fruity Pebbles was hilarious. And that all was riffed. That was riffed, in my opinion. So what do you think of The Rock showing up and what it meant for the future?
Well, the conversation that he had with Cody before he left. So I want to see how that comes into play and kind of what, the conversation goes from there. And it's hard for me to say because, Roman's now on this other side. How does Rock feel about the bloodline? Is he going to be, because we know now that it's not going to be Kevin Owens as part of this,
We're going to get
this team.
Yeah.
So is Rock going to, but then it's kind of one-sided. If it's going to be Rock, Roman, Cody, like on a team against the blood, it's just, the playing field is not leveled at all. So
no, I'm also questioning, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Is once Roman has his group back, the original faction back, I'm assuming the Wise Man's coming too soon. Does he go back to being a heel?
I don't know. I think right now
he's so popular. I can't imagine that would be kind of a bad move. We've seen that before. But I don't know.
I don't think fans want to boo Roman Reigns at this moment in time. So, I mean, my wife, she had I think I told you where we were at SummerSlam, and she always wanted to have one of those buddies, those, the stuffed dolls. And then she ended up getting the Roman Reigns one. So,
Did she not want the Roman Reigns one, or she wanted the Roman Reigns one?
No, she ended up getting that one because she's like, "Oh, this is so cool," and like Roman Reigns. So he's got to be a good guy now. So, kids love it.
You are right, because I have to say, as me watching, there's just this Roman. Like, you just feel this, it lifts up.
Yeah.
The product.
And you lean into, and then you see great things he does, like with Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital in South Florida, where he goes and gives them pizza parties and he interacts with them and he does all these things that he doesn't have to do. And so I don't know. I can't boo the guy.
So I see a Bloodline 1.0 as a face faction with Reigns being less abusive. I think that's what you're saying, Scott.
Yeah. But the problem with this is, the other side is just so not believable as someone that's a threat at this moment in time. I still think you have Jacob and he's great, but the other guys, I don't think they've done enough to make them a threat. I think they need to do a little bit more to do that.
We've got Survivor Series, which has to be Bloodline face faction versus the bad Bloodline. Isn't that where we're going with this?
Yeah. It's got to be. I mean, but the question we haven't talked about yet is, which I thought was interesting, they did this after the fact, is what happens with Kevin Owens. Are we going to just now have Kevin Owens versus Cody Rhodes?
Well, hold on. I wanted to get
Survivor Series.
So this was brilliant because WWE on the press conference was saying, I'm watching the press conference and Triple H goes, Cody couldn't make it tonight. He never said what happened. So he never said to the press, by the way, he was beaten up back there. Like, none of that was, so we don't know. I go on to X and there's all this shit. And they let it was brilliant. They let the fans capture it. I thought this was such a clever, great move that you would never have seen before. Yeah. And the fact that they caught all these fans watching this happen, and we don't know what was said, but Kevin Owens did a heel turn on Cody, which we saw coming. What do you think? Do you think we're going to get the actual film of that? altercation of what they said, or are we not?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think they can keep it the way it is and leave it open ended and have it like the WWE cameras didn't even realize that this was going to happen, that they weren't even
I didn't
there,
say WWE
and
can't.
it makes it more authentic that this happened. It makes it like you said, it adds this other layer of storytelling that they haven't used before, and they're using the fact that people love to record things when things happen. Like someone's getting into a fight at the grocery store, your first response is to get that phone out and record what's happening. So,
Or like I did when I was at the press, when I was interviewing AJ Styles in LA.
yes, exactly.
And
Perfect
exactly what
example.
happens to me, I get banned from TikTok. But I put the video up and they
You're in
said,
the line of fire. Yes. So that is perfect example. Another way that they have done
they
that.
did. They
So,
did that at a press conference, at a media event, and that was smart too.
yes, both instances, I think, really well done.
So where does this go from here, Scott? Do we want to see Kevin and Cody, or is Randy Orton turn as well? Which is what I thought we were going to originally do because of the history of Randy and Cody. I thought that would have been made the more interesting feud.
Yeah, I thought given the history with that, but now it's with Survivor Series coming up. I don't know. I see Randy maybe being part of the team, but maybe there's a moment where he affects a finish in the match, in the War Games match, where it kind of leads to Royal Rumble, where it's Cody versus Randy Orton, because that's a match that should happen at one of the big events, I think. So maybe right now we do Kevin Owens and Cody, and in the next couple months.
And then
Maybe
Randy
Saturday night's main event again, maybe building towards that, because I think right now we're going to be focusing more on factions and teams, but it could come sooner than that, of course. But they have a lot of options right now, so that's really great to see. That.
So are you seeing? Wait, so you're saying I think there is a Randy heel turn? You do not?
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to happen right now. I
know.
think leading into Royal Rumble, maybe we'll have Randy Orton versus Cody, because I think that match is kind of warrants a bigger stage.
Tia saying, after Jacob, I think my favorite Bloodline 2.0 is Tamatanga. Do you agree?
I just think both of them, Tongaloa, Tamatanga, they just haven't really done a great job of kind of showing me who they are and kind of giving me the buildup of what makes them so dangerous. I mean, they won the tag titles, great, but I want to know their backstory in Japan and everything like that. And I know everyone's going to be like, oh, you don't really need to do that, but I don't know. They need, like I said, they need to kind of do more for me to have the 2.0 be a viable threat. And I don't think they've shown that enough.
What if The Rock goes with the 2.0 group?
Then I think it's different.
That's
that would make it better.
That would be like Survivor Series if The Rock came back and was with them. I mean, will he do that, or will he not come back till next year?
It's hard to say. I mean, he's got a movie coming out, during the holiday season. Actually, it factors in November. It comes out.
Promotion.
Red One. So there you go, having him wrestle during that, and the movie comes out that weekend.
I'm betting it's going to be The Rock with the youngins, and then the other group. It's got to be. Yeah. And then that sets off a Roman Rock feud.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be Cody in the War Games, because Cody could be busy facing Kevin Owens.
Cody away from this.
Yeah. Cody versus Kevin.
Right. That's what I think would be good.
I think we booked it pretty well.
Yeah. Okay. So overall, I'm giving this an A. What are you giving it? I give A to Bad Blood.
Yeah. Yeah, I think alone, just you need to go out of your way if you haven't to see the CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre match. I think that one alone made the show. So I just love the pacing and everything of the shows, that they are focusing on just a couple important matches and kind of eliminating all the filler. So I think that's great.
Even though we had some, and to your point, I'm giving it an A because I thought the ending with The Rock, Jimmy
Uso coming back, that comeback was great. Goldberg,
the Kevin Owens sneak attack thing. I mean, there were all of these things part of the whole thing that I thought made it an A. I do agree there were some clunky moments in the show that brought the energy down. And I hate to say it was the women, it wasn't only the women. I think it was Damian and Finn a little bit. But I just think the first match was so elevated. And then I just didn't love the wrestling in the main event. I think it was kind of like going nowhere.
Because the focus wasn't really on the wrestling, let's be honest. It was just about Roman being back and, what happened with Jimmy and then The Rock. Those are the three important things.
Right. It just felt slow in the middle, right?
Yeah. It was just filler. That, I guess there was filler when you talk about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It just wasn't engaged as much. And I think, like I said, just having Bloodline 2.0, they need a shot in the arm. And if Rock can do that and be that person, that's great.
So we know, do you have some interesting things coming up this week? Will we see on TV Insider? What's in the queue? Can you tease anything?
Well, if anyone hasn't seen, I did talk to Britt Baker last week.
Well, I did, and that's my girl. And I wanted to know, can you just tell me? You talked to her before, I believe.
Yeah, a few times.
How was she to talk with? Did you enjoy the
she's great. She's always on her game. You can ask her whatever. But one of the things that, I love asking her about is Dancing with the Stars, because I know she's a super fan. And it's sad that she hasn't been on yet, but she's going to get on there one day. I just got to believe that. But I just love her viewpoints when it comes to that sort of thing. So it's always fun to kind of get that. It seems like she's refocused right now. I mean, a lot of people give her a bad rap on social media. I just don't get the hate, but just think she's great at what she does. And I'm looking forward to kind of her rebounding, because she's also been through a lot when it comes to health. So it was nice seeing her back in the mix. When it comes to the wrestling stuff, I actually sat down with Dave Meltzer last week to talk about the Vince McMahon documentary.
Is that out yet?
Yeah, it's on Netflix, 6 episodes.
No. Not I know the documentary. Oh. Your interview out with Dave?
Yeah. That was also from last week.
I know. Did you watch the Netflix show yet?
Yeah, I did watch it.
And what'd you think?
I thought if you weren't like involved, like not involved,
you weren't a deep.
If you knew the history of it, then it was like kind of okay, this is what happened. This one. It was interesting that they focused so much on the storylines. Like, I wanted to know more. I wanted them to dig a little deeper into Vince McMahon's like childhood backstory, like outside of the business stuff. But they focused a lot on the business stuff, which I kind of get a little bit of. But I would have liked to have seen them pull a little bit more when it comes to that sort of thing. So
it was really hard for me to watch. I worked for Vince, and I remember there were some moments that were really intense with Vince.
So you had some PTSD from
I did. I had a PTSD moment. I had a few PTSD moments from watching it. But I'll elaborate that when we do a show about that.
Yeah, I definitely would love. I love to hear that, because not many get to be in that trenches.
No, it's really. I kind of mentioned it, and then people are like, it glosses right over their head. So it's funny. I'll go on my journey, through life. People will see like, wait, WWE's on your, like, they kind of gloss over it. And then some people that like wrestling, they're like, and they're, let's say, production jobs or producers are like, wait, you worked for, so it's.
I think we need to do a show where you're talking about that. Like,
I do too.
Deeply.
So I do too. And I guess I'll have to get legal advice before I say anything.
Oh, damn. But now coming up, I just had an interview with Eric Young. He has a show called Final Obsession.
That's up.
That's up too.
Yeah. Final Obsession.
How is he? He's great. He's hosted 2 other shows before, 2 other outdoor shows. So he has have a history with it. But I love the concept of him going to record stores and having these celebs go record shopping and talking about stories. Some of them are, lead singers of bands, so they're talking about their personal experiences. But then you have like people like Melissa Joan Hart or Bobby Bones talking about their fandom and what brought with wrestling. So it would have been cool if we still had like Blockbuster around. You could have wrestlers like walking around and picking out like wrestling tapes or something like that. But so that's out. I did talk to Tom Lawler from MLW. So Tom is he wrestled Paul Walterhauser earlier this summer. So we dig into the making of that, how that match came together. And he's one of the more underrated guys in pro wrestling when he made the transition from MMA to pro wrestling. So he's one that's always interesting to talk to. We were supposed to talk leading into the next show with MLW, but unfortunately the hurricane canceled that one, Slaughterhouse in St. Pete, which was supposed to be last week. But this is kind of going to be posted at some point. So that's kind of what's out at the moment. And then kind of seeing what else, what other irons in the fire. So
I know how that is. All right. Well, thank you so much. Hey, everybody. Thank you for watching us. Leave a comment below if you like our show. We'll be back with another episode soon. And I guess Bad Blood 2024 is in the record books.
Yeah. And, we didn't bleed. So good on us.
Bleed. Drew McIntyre did that for all of us.
Yes. Thank you, Drew.
Thanks.
One for the team.
Thanks, Drew. All right, everybody. Thank you. Have a great Sunday.